And then
Good evening, Brimfield.
hey, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. We're having a little bit of technical challenges here today, too, so we're going to go with one camera until I can figure that all out. But go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, you'll notice that that we have changed locations. We're now in an undisclosed location with heat. So we couldn't be anywhere that people might know Mr. Wales, because, you know.
Right.
I didn't want to let him in my house.
Good point.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. So this is what I say, episode 13. Episode 13.
Lucky 13.
Lucky 13.
And so this is one of those the weeks that are in between the select board meetings. So we're going to try to make these again. Stay away from the political thing to at least some extent, depending on where the discussion goes. And so this week we've got Mr. Wales, and hopefully we'll learn a little bit about the cemetery, and maybe talk a little bit more about some other things related to the town.
Yeah. So, without further ado, I think a lot of you watching may know Mr. Wales for a longer time than I have. But from what I can gather, you've pretty much almost been involved in every board in town and know everything in town. And
I've been on a few.
so there's the fire department, obviously. Was chief.
Yep.
You've been cemetery commissioner forever.
About 7 years, I think.
Yeah.
Nice.
You've been on the Harding Fund.
No,
No?
I was on the Industrial Commission, which I don't even know if that still exists.
I've never even heard of it.
I was
No,
on that
I
when
can't
I
say.
was pretty young. I think I was 18 or 19 for a few years. Fire department since I was 15, with the exception of a few years in the middle. Cemetery commission. Building committees. I've been on several building committees for probably the last 20 years or thereabouts.
Wow. Impressive.
Yeah.
A pillar of the community, as
Yeah,
they say.
thank you.
They say.
Thank
So, could you maybe give us a little bit, maybe expand a little bit on what being on the cemetery commission entails?
I can do my best.
Okay.
So as cemetery commissioner, there are three of us. Steve Pfeiffer is the chairman. I'm the next in line as far as years on the commission. And then Zach Lemieux, who is the highway superintendent, is also a commissioner. Our job is to basically oversee everything that goes on within the cemetery. We have two employees that take care of the cemetery, John Pfeiffer and oh gosh, I'm not going to remember his name now.
Tony Buys.
Tony Buys,
there you
who they
go.
take very good care of the cemetery, and occasionally we get the Mr. Orchard himself from up on Haynes Hill helps out from time to time as well.
Mr. Lamoth.
Mr. Lamoth, Jim Lamoth, he's been down there for quite a few years, as have been many of the town residents through the years. It's kind of an impressive group. From Jim Adams, who was a commissioner for many years, to Buddy Sherman, Stanton, Miss Charlie Stanton, quite a few different people. But anyhow, so our job is to oversee the entire thing. People want to buy a plot for burial, whether it's cremations or it's a full burial with a casket and a vault. We take care of that sales process for the most part. Then we hand it off to our secretary, Alicia Fan. She does all the secretarial work for us and forwards all the money to the town treasurer, etc., etc. We take care of the foundations for headstones, for footstones that get put in. We approve or disapprove all of those. And that's kind of our position.
Wow.
We are not computerized. We'd love to get into that thing.
That might have just been a small dig on me.
Well, no, it's Mike has nicely
on the
offered. He has offered to
not even
help
on the
us
table,
to get
it's-
there, but we just don't have enough volunteers to follow up on that and enough hours. Guess I got to get a little closer to my retirement so I can help out.
There you go.
So that
There
we
you
could
go.
get it computerized. Because
So
it's a
that'll
bit of a
work.
challenge figuring out what plots are available sometimes, but we get it figured out, and it's all handwritten books that go back into the early 1800s, which are pretty interesting. I love being on the cemetery commission because sometimes we're out there and we're trying to find a plot for someone or something else, and then you all of a sudden you find someone that you haven't remembered for 30 years.
Right,
You go,
right.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know he had passed. And
Right.
it's an old friend or someone you work with. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And when you realize some of the people that have been buried in the cemeteries, because there are actually 3 in town, and most people aren't aware of that. There is a small cemetery in the west end of town.
Mm-hmm.
That is, most of the people that were buried in there were the 1800s, early 1900s. And then there's a private cemetery up at Little Allen. That is a private cemetery, but we still oversee those as well.
Right. And that, by rights, can't be fully private, though, can it? It has to have public access because there are veterans in
Yeah,
there.
it has to have public access for any veterans that are there. We maintain it, although actually the people up there at Little Allen do maintain most of it. We also maintain the one in West Brimfield, which is very small. I'm going to guess it's maybe 100 by 100, but I don't think it's that big.
Wow.
And there are some interesting people that are buried in the cemeteries. We have, I believe it's 3 generals. 3 generals
Yeah.
from
We touched on that last.
Revolutionary times, which
Very
is
cool.
really cool. One of them is General Eaton.
Mm-hmm.
That if you've ever sang or heard the song for the Marines,
Mm-hmm.
and it talks about from the shores of Tripoli,
Tripoli.
and that goes back to General Eaton. He was leading the fight against, and you correct me if I'm wrong, the pirates.
Yes, the Barbary Pirates. It was
Barbary
during the Barbary
Pirates,
Wars.
and he is buried there, which is pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is neat.
And there's some Hessian soldiers also buried in there. And I just heard a
main
story.
cemetery?
I think they're in the West Brimfield
Yeah,
Cemetery.
I've heard there's some in both the West Brimfield and the one off Little Allen.
I haven't heard about Little Allen, but we also have a headstone that I'm researching right now that is written, I'm told, in Polish, that the Southbridge Cemetery, or the Southbridge Library is helping me to figure out what it actually says on the headstones, because we have no idea.
Interesting.
I've had a couple of volunteers come out, one fellow who was from Russia, and he said, no, that's Polish, and I can't read Polish. So I can't read it either. But it's still pretty cool stuff. And I just heard the other day, somebody told me that when the Hessians were around, there was an encampment on the common. And I don't know that this story is true, and that several Hessian soldiers who were prisoners escaped. And from my understanding from the fellow from Wales who told me this story, they escaped and they went up to Norcross Sanctuary and actually started a small village up there. And supposedly you can go up there and still see where the houses were within Norcross Cemetery, which is, I have to go up and see that because that's just
Yeah.
Kind of a neat
cool.
link.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
cool stuff.
I did hear there were Hessians buried in a cemetery at Norcross.
Yeah,
I didn't hear about the encampment.
supposedly there was a village of Hessians that lived there and were never really disturbed, I guess, by the soldiers or anyone else, to my understanding.
What I had heard, and I actually there is a diary that you can get online somewhere,
Yeah.
and there's not very many of them, but it was a diary from a Hessian prisoner of war from Broomfield.
Really?
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah. I know the Boudrios have it. Lenny
really?
Boudrio was a good friend.
Oh, very cool.
And it may say something. I just got a book that's the history. In 1886, the federal government asked every town, county, and state to write a local history for the previous 100 years. And you can still buy that book. They print it on request. It's a hardcover book. It's probably an inch thick. I can't think of what the title of it is, but if anybody out there wants to get one, you can get one. It takes about 8 to 10 weeks to get one. I haven't read it yet, but there may be stuff in there that talks about the Hessians. I don't know.
I haven't. A good friend bought a copy for me, and so I've been
Of that book?
Of that book,
Yeah.
yeah. And I haven't seen that in there. But Lenny Boudreau was talking about it,
Yeah.
and what he was saying was they were free to roam because Broomfield was such a pro-America town that, in a small community, that they knew,
Yep.
who the Hessians were, and if you tried to escape, you'd be shot.
Right.
So, and they were
Unless
they were
went up to
amazed.
Norcross. A couple of them, maybe they were like, wink and a nod. Go ahead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who
And of
knows,
course, back
right? You
then,
never know.
Norcross was really the sticks. Back
Right.
then.
Yeah.
Right.
So pretty tough country to try to live the first winter in. I don't know if it was
Yeah,
winter
when they
time
left,
when it happened, but pretty tough area to live in if you've ever been up through there. Some great country.
The two big things that Lenny liked to talk about was that the Hessians were amazed at how large the rattlesnakes were in Brimfield. And
good.
how wasteful the Brimfield farmers were, and all American farmers, because we didn't do anything with the blood of the pigs. We didn't do any blood pie.
Blood pudding.
Blood pudding, yeah.
If you've ever had it, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I had it once, and I was surprised because
Yeah.
I'm that guy that's foolish enough to try it.
Yeah, I remember there was a woman that worked at the rectory in the parish I grew up in, and they used to make it all the time.
Yeah.
And I never had it, but I think after that generation, it was like, maybe I'll just go to Stop and Shop and get.
I'll be wasteful.
Yeah, I'll be a little wasteful. The blood can go, but I suppose back in the day, you gotta make use of everything.
Oh yeah,
for
especially if you're from
Good
the
iron.
old country.
Yeah, exactly.
My wife's grandparents were from the old country, and it was blood sausage and head cheese and all of those things that are a little nasty when you find out what's in them.
Yeah, that's true.
But I have tried a few of those things,
Yeah.
and I was surprised that blood pudding was not bad.
Yep, that's what I heard. That's what I heard too.
Okay.
They should change the name.
Yeah,
Maybe if they just did that, it would be
just-
all right.
yeah, just maroon pudding or something.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I first went down to Louisiana, just going through the store, just seeing what they had in their meat section, and I was like, wow, very interesting. I mean, there was a lot of the, the oxtail and the tongue and the tripe and the, parts of the animals that you just didn't expect. The foot, pig's feet, pickled and not pickled. But yeah, that was an eye-opening experience to see what people can eat. Yeah, I tried a lot of stuff down there, but I got to say, I'm still haven't done the blood pudding yet. Maybe somebody out there will send us a sample.
That's right.
I don't know, and then I'll try it. I'd be willing to try it.
Yeah. I will not.
No, okay.
You can try.
Can't get it at Westwind Farms, I guess.
Yep.
No.
That would be a shame.
No.
Well,
So-
I have to say, you don't think about how much is how important and how much is really centered on the upkeep of the cemetery, the management of the cemetery. You just don't. It's kind of background stuff that you don't really think about until you talk about it. 'Cause
It is.
I wouldn't have even thought about half of the stuff. I mean, that
yeah.
somebody's doing it,
That's-
but nobody really thinks about how it gets done. It's
Yeah.
like background
And
noise.
I have to say that our guys do a great job for what they get paid. They do a great job. Every time I walk by there, it's beautiful. And,
Right.
and I've been down there a couple of times with Kay Kaprowski and Amanda Day.
Yep.
They've been spending a lot of time making sure that the veterans are all they're all well protected and that the flags are there and the appointments that should go with
great.
the flags are in the proper place. We're making some decisions on how that's all going to lay out. Because that's pretty involved. And then, of course, we have, thank God, Amanda Day has chased up at the Wreaths Across America, which is a beautiful thing for the veterans.
It is. I actually have, maybe that would be a good quick segue. I think I've got the information on these as well.
They
That
do
deadline-
need some donations to support that. I believe it's $15 per wreath.
Right.
Yep, 15. The deadline may be passed.
No, I think it's November 20th.
Oh yeah, it is November
Yep.
20th. I'm reading it right now.
And
I
there's
just put it up on
something
the
like
screen.
400 veterans
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
put the wreaths on. And if anybody has a little bit that they can help to get to Amanda Day, if you need information, you can call me, and I'll get the information to you.
Right, there's a
Now-
little bit of
Or if you
information on the
just go
screen
on
there too.
Brimfield Wreaths Across America, it should pop up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll put the link on the screen for a little bit while we're talking about
Awesome.
Yeah, I actually went to the town page to see if I could download anything, and there wasn't a link there. I did talk with Zach, and he was going to try to get a couple of forms at his office.
Yep.
And I actually haven't even followed up with him to see if that happened yet.
And Zach at the highway department, he is kind of the second in line to take care of that, so you can also contact Zach.
Great.
And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful site. Of course, for me, it's a lot of people that I know, including my father, who's there, who was a World War II vet. It's a wonderful thing for me to be able to put a wreath on my father's
Yeah.
headstone.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Touches the heart.
Yep.
Certainly does.
Yeah.
And, yeah. And those that don't have family are just as deserving, and they need, it'd be good to sponsor. If you don't have a loved one in the cemetery, just you can contribute without putting a name to it.
Right.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
And then the other thing about the cemetery is we, as I said in the beginning, we also are the ones to go to if you need a burial site. Anybody who is a resident of the town of Brimfield can be buried, can buy a plot. If you buy a full plot, which is $2,000, there's enough room to bury 8 full burials. And if you put cremains in, this is kind of a guess, there's probably room for at least 30 cremains. And you can do headstones, and everything else is divided up, so you can buy a quarter of a plot, so it's only 2 full graves. You can still put a headstone up.
So I've done quite a bit of work with cemeteries, and it always strikes me with the different packages and it's really interesting to see the cultures as well.
Yes.
I worked at a big cemetery in New York where who's the Vera Wang.
Okay.
Vera Wang bought her plot, and she had to wait because they were opening up a new section, and she wanted the top of the hill that was facing east, west, and that was very important to the whatever.
A lot of
Culture,
times it's the culture, it's the religion.
Yeah.
And most funeral homes will do the best that they can to have anyone who is interned in a full burial facing east. So you're facing the rising sun.
Right.
And I don't quite know the ins and outs of why that is.
Right.
But they all have different things that they want to do, whether it's, whatever religion you happen to be. But they all, no matter, even if they don't know the religion, the funeral homes still try to bury everyone facing east as best they can. Sometimes you can't, and we've had that same request, like Vera Wang. We just had someone who really wanted a spot that was in the shade. And I have to tell you, I probably spent a solid 2 hours trying to figure it out, and it wasn't easy, but that's what we do. Because you are all townspeople, and we want you to be very satisfied in your afterlife, and your family to be very happy with what they think of your afterlife. And how, sometimes you get visited, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Understood. But we still try to do the best for everyone that is interned there.
Yeah. So, with when you buy a plot, that comes with eternal care.
It does. It comes with perpetual care, so you never have to, God forbid, you never have to go down and mow your own plot. There are rules of what you can use to put on the gravesite. Certain plantings have to be really close to the headstone. We don't allow any bushes or trees or anything like that. It's pretty much annual flowers to be planted. We don't allow plastic. And we will pick it up if we see it. We're pretty flexible. If we understand that a lot of time it's a child that goes to see grandma or grandpa.
Right.
And they might put something there, and we will leave it for some length of time. We're not hard-nosed about this. Right. You have to have some reality about you, and you have to give a little.
Right.
So it's like balloons. We don't really allow balloons, but we'll pretty much, we let them stay there until they deflate, which is usually 3 or 4 or 8 days, and then we pick them up. And there are rules that are printed on a board down at the cemetery by the mower building. Also, there you can go online and pull them offline, and all the pricing of how we do the pricing of different plots and lots. And for those that are interested, when you go into the cemetery, in the back left corner, there's a wooden building. And we've had people ask us, what is that building? And that is the old hearse house from when the town owned its own horse-drawn hearse, which is really cool. We no longer have one, but the town of Wales has theirs still, which it is gorgeous. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And I remember Dave Worth, who was the highway superintendent, fire chief, you name it. He was every position in town. He had it all fixed up and had the wheels checked so that if they actually wanted to use it, they could, but they would prefer to put it on a trailer.
Rather than,
But I don't know if they allow it to be used or not, but it's a beautiful old hearse. But that's what that building is.
Very interesting.
And when you look into some of the old books, I had some time where I was waiting for someone a couple of weeks ago, so I was looking at some of the old books that we have that talk about this one died, that one died, and the book we have starts in 1808.
Whoa.
Wow.
And cool. It will tell you that, and I'm just pulling names out of a hat, that Michael Wales is buried in the old section, which we have no real records of the old section. And here's why we don't have many is Michael Wales was buried 3 paces from the middle apple tree.
Right.
So that middle apple tree was probably full grown in 1808.
Yeah.
And it's been gone for well over 100 years.
Yeah.
You're just supposed to know.
It's pretty interesting stuff.
That is very cool.
And there are some old headstones in what we call the old section that have some really cool saying. They're a little spooky.
Yeah.
But they're pretty cool.
Yeah, they did a lot of ornate decorative things back down to skulls and
the skulls
wings on the skulls and stuff.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Just very cool stuff.
It is. Yeah. I think you can get a lot of history with that. When I was young, one of the things my mom liked to do is to go to the really old one, and just use that pencil and just do that tracing of the different the motifs.
The sayings.
Yeah, it's just very,
There's one down there that says something about, "As I am now, so you will be soon," or something like that. And I'm really not making that up. It's actually there. And I've been trying to figure out, and I've been dealing with a couple of other cemeteries about how to clean headstones.
Right.
I would love to get the stones all cleaned, but we don't recommend that you just go down there and start scraping and scrubbing and using chemicals that are not what that you should be using.
Right.
And I've been dealing with the Agawam Cemetery, and I just found out that Munson Cemetery is getting ready to do something similar to clean the headstones. Because some of those sayings, you hate to lose them, and you hate to lose the names and the dates of people that were so important to this town.
Right.
A very long time ago.
It's very neat.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, you can get, when we used to go to some of the older ones in Boston, you see the family and you just look at the dates, and it's a young child or whatever, and what happened during that time, and influenza, was it smallpox or whatever, and you just kind of look at the family and you just kind of wonder. It just makes you think.
It really does.
It kind of gives you a little bit of a different perspective.
It's pretty cool stuff. And probably some of you have heard that I did go in front of the Board of Selectmen to get them to approve our working on the stone on the wall in front of the cemetery.
Right.
I do not recall right now the dates of when that stone wall was built and the entrances, but they're in pretty tough shape.
Yeah.
So they are going to be looking at them. We have an engineering company that we've signed a contract with that will start that process and seeing what the stones are, because they're all different.
Right.
Most of them I would call river rock because they're round.
Smooth,
they're more round, so I would call it river rock. But the actual cement is a very specific type. And they've tried to patch the capstone, the concrete capstone that's along the entire wall. And if you drive down there or walk by it, it's all coming unglued because they've used the wrong types of concrete, and they don't play well together.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
There's a little more to it than I would have thought.
Yeah, same here.
And I mean, talking about that, I was at one of those meetings where you were talking about that. And it amazes me. Like, the one thing with the town of Brimfield, which you've heard many, many times, is all of our records. Our records are horrible.
Right.
But somehow the cemetery commissioners since 1808 have kept everything.
Right.
You've got a record of the receipt or something of the actual concrete mix that they used?
That's one of the things that they will be working on, the engineers will be working on, is figuring out how that concrete was actually made, what's in it, how many shovels of lime to how many shovels of sand. And if you feel the capstone, it's a very coarse sand.
Yeah, but don't you have some record of
there could be. Well, the second part of the wall, as you're going south on Route 19, the section of the cemetery that we have not opened, that was built in the 60s.
Right.
And that was, my understanding is the original part was raised, the funds were raised in the town of Brimfield by the Women's Club. And I don't know if the Women's Club, and excuse me if you think I'm being opposed to one religion or another, the only women's club that I was ever aware of, there were two. One was part of the Hitchcock Academy, and one was part of the Congregational Church. And I really don't know which one, and I believe there are receipts or amounts of money at least as to what was spent to do that. And if you go to the town hall, not the town hall, the library, there are actually pictures of the original which was a white picket fence.
Yeah,
And
I have a
that's
copy
an
of it.
awesome picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike, I can't think of
DeFalco.
Mike DeFalco put it up on Facebook one time when he was putting up all the old pictures.
Right.
And I've never seen that.
Yeah.
And we have some pretty old pictures of the cemetery in our office at the town hall that are pretty cool to see, but nothing but that's a picture of that white picket fence, which the stone wall ultimately replaced.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've got a comment here that says the Brimfield Historical Commission hired a gravestone conservator several years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
That's news to me.
That's from Ms. Haley.
I'll have to talk to Miss Haley.
Yeah. She also called you an old EMT. I don't know
Yes,
if that
I was.
an EMT a long time ago, or if you were back then.
I was old. I still am old.
We're not going to go
As
there.
long as I keep getting older, it's all
You
good.
know what? That's right. The alternative sucks.
She and I both were EMTs on the ambulance service back in the day.
There you go.
And the two guys, I was actually one of the first full-timers, myself and Jim Whitten. And we were preceded by former chief, who I took over as chief from, Stu Perry, and Kevin Pratt. They were paid by CETA, which was a state-funded. And then we were the first full-timers. Then we were paid by the ambulance, the volunteer ambulance, which the volunteer ambulance was totally separate from the volunteer fire department, except in that as I was chief of the fire department, I was automatically chief of the ambulance service. And was lucky enough to go to every town meeting and say, this is what we need to survive next year, and fight for that money and run the ambulance service. And back in those days, somebody would have to literally, if we bought a new ambulance, one of us would have to literally go to the bank and sign our own personal name on the loan. So you were putting your house on the line, and I signed. I remember I talked to Stu one day, and he said, I signed for one, and Ward Cox, I believe, was chief before him, and he signed for one, and I signed for one.
Wow.
And a couple, and I think I was probably the last chief that did that, because then it started to go the other way, where there was a little more money flowing.
Right.
So they didn't have to necessarily go borrow money to buy an ambulance. And a lot of people still to this day think that the town has owned the ambulance until most recently, and the town actually has never owned an ambulance, to my knowledge.
Right.
And I don't know, I think the ambulance service actually started sometime in the 30s. But I'm not 100% sure of that. And if you find out some of the people that worked on the ambulance years ago, it's pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the old timers before there was EMTs.
Right. Do what you got to do.
Yeah. One of them was Mr. and Mrs. Spooner. They drove the ambulance quite often because they were around during the day.
Right.
And
Availability.
Back in those days, we had what was called the fire phone, or the emergency phone, and the fire phone rang in several homes, and it even rang in the Woodbine.
Right.
When it was the Woodbine,
and
everybody else knows it now as the Brimfield Market. That was a Woodbine, and Lee Adams's parents owned it at the time, and they would answer the ambulance, the fire phone, and from there they could set off the siren from a remote location.
Wow.
And then in the latter days, we could also set off pagers from. I had one in my house. Vic Milani, who was police chief, he had one in his house. My wife would dispatch one night. Joanne Milani might be the next night. And it just went round and round and round. And that was back in the day when they didn't get paid nothing. So
that always amazes me.
Yeah.
I've heard so much about, you signing on your house to get an ambulance, and the Spooners, then the Hilkers, and everybody down, all sorts of Carolyn. I mean, it seems like everybody was an EMT at least one day a year.
We had quite a few.
Right. When you needed to be.
Yeah.
Tap your head. Get on the truck.
You're nice.
And I thank Linda Collette for a lot of that. She was one of the full timers after me and Jimmy Witten, and she ran that ambulance so well. And she and I would go to town meetings, and some people became paramedics. Linda did. We have paramedics to this day that they give a lot more than they ever get paid for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're there 24/7 now in the station. There are when we had the station rehab done 4 years ago.
I guess it has been.
That's 4 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't aware. We never had showers in the station. We never had a bunk bed in the station. Now there's 2 bunk rooms that the EMTs or paramedics can sleep in, so they're on the road that much faster. But back in those days, we ran from home, and we still do for the fire department. It's just the way the system runs. A small community like Brimfield or Wales or Holland, there's not enough finances to support a full-time fire department. The town of Sturbridge, they're struggling because they've only got 3 or 4 guys on shift. So if they have a major fire or back-to-back ambulance calls, they have to call their guys back in and hope that they're home, just as we used to. And we always, back in those days, and still today, there is a fire officer who's on duty every night. Might be the lieutenant, might be the captain, the deputy chief, and they're not getting paid any extra money to stay home, or stay in town, And even if you wanted to go to that friend's birthday party, nope, you're not going unless you can get somebody to cover for you. It's a little more involved than what people realize, and we're always looking for volunteers. It's tougher and tougher to get caught, and we're not actually
look right in there.
We're not actually a volunteer department anymore. We're what's known as a call department. We do get paid when we go on a call. And right now, we're always looking for more call guys. That are or ladies. It doesn't have to be guys. We've had women firefighters who have done great work through the years.
Absolutely.
So once again, I heard this great story of a big fire. It was a forest fire up on what's Peak Mountain in Munson.
Oh yeah.
Where we talked about the Hilkers, both Mr. and Mrs. running up and down that mountain all night long with water on their backs.
With pump cans. And a pump can is about 50 pounds of water. It's 5 gallons of water. And half the time it's sloshing out down your back. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but that was a pretty good fire. That one went for 3 or 4 days with helicopter drops, and that was in Munson. And I was chief then. And we did a lot of humping a hose out in the middle of the woods. A lot of miles of hose were out and attacking it from 2 different sides, different departments, and you get into these mutual aid situations.
You have to.
I understand there was a pretty big one this morning in Holland. Although I am still on the fire department, I didn't make that call, but I heard there was a pretty good structure fire in Holland that brought in several towns. Just as about a week ago there was a fatal up in Northfield.
I saw that.
And that one brought in firefighters from 3 states. Which makes it really interesting, because normally you can't talk from truck to truck if they're out of your district. We can now talk to Sturbridge because they're out of our district, they're out of our county. But the town has given us enough money to buy the radios, so we can put all of these different frequencies in them. that makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah, I can't even imagine the logistics of trying to control a site where you've got multiple departments all on different frequencies.
Different
It'd
frequencies, and you can't even talk to them when they're coming in and saying go to the south side.
Don't go here, go there. Yeah.
Yeah, it slows down the entire process.
Sure.
And it makes it a little less safe for every firefighter that's there.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot through the years.
It has. My I come from a family. Well, our whole neighborhood was either fire or police, and my dad was a district chief in Boston, and my brother retired as a lieutenant in Boston. And even watching it over the years that they were in, the change, it was pretty impressive, and today, I mean, the equipment they've got today, it's just unbelievable. I mean, these machines, that's all computerized. Everything's these pressure trucks that automatically change the pressure and keep it so that you don't have that drop. Something just rode over my, my hose, and I got no water at the top of a ladder. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Well, it shouldn't happen anymore.
It shouldn't, but it does.
It does,
especially out here in the rural communities, because you don't have those little red things that stick up out of the sidewalk.
Right. Exactly.
So and pump operator is one of the most important guys on the scene because he's got to pay attention to what he's got left for supply.
Right.
Whether it be tankers coming in or I've still got 1,000 gallons in my truck because every one of our trucks carries at least 1,000 gallons. Yeah. Because if somebody's inside and there's a raging fire going and you're running down low, you better be telling them, you better start backing out because we're running low on water.
And now they've got those hydrants placed in over the last few years. They've had hydrants placed in water.
We do have sources. I think we have 8 different dry hydrants in town, but most of the time we're drafting or we're sucking water out of a pond. We've done it out of people's swimming pools. In a real pinch, we'll suck water out of a pool. We haven't done that in a long time, but it's possible to do.
Sure.
And that's, most pools, I don't know what's in an average pool, but it's got to be 20,000 gallons.
For a big,
that's a lot of water when you're fighting a fire.
When you need it. 100%.
Yeah, sure beats having to watch it burn down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always fun watching you guys practice on Mill Pond.
Yeah.
It's interesting when we're practicing on different places and people will stop and watch the water coming out of the gun, on top of the engine. But it's training. It's keeping us on top of our toes,
for sure,
so that we still remember. Oh yeah, I got to do that.
It must be impressive having been on. As in your several roles over the years, obviously, and then having been on the building committee and seeing that safety complex develop, I just look at that and just go, wow, it's come a long way, from what it was. I can't even imagine what it was. Even back in the day, as you keep saying. But the reality is,
when I was first on a department, it was just the front 4 bays on the station, and we actually had 3 engines, 2 tankers, and sometimes we had 2 ambulances that we squeezed in there. I don't know how we did it some days.
Wow,
good driving.
And at one time, there were 2 posts in the fire station that held the roof up. And when Ward Cox was chief, he had the posts taken out and some heavier beams put in, so that we wouldn't
keep running into it.
We wouldn't scrape. The old tanker got scraped pretty good at the time on those posts. If there wasn't someone there to watch you back in and you didn't look careful enough, it would scrape up the side and put a little ding in it.
Yeah.
Oops. Character building.
That's right.
Stories
one
to be
way
had.
to put it.
Yeah, that's right.
That next Tuesday night, practice must have been tough for that guy.
Yeah, right. Who put the dent? Oh, we all know. We all know.
And I have to admit that I did it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we're past that statute of limitations. So I think you did. It'll be all right.
Yeah, I haven't done it in a long time.
No one's going to hold you to it. But if it happens now, it might be something. I mean, it's a $500,000 truck.
Yeah, because fixing the trucks nowadays is not cheap like it used to be.
Nope.
No.
And we used to have the guys on the department that would do a lot of the repairs for free.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it is what it is. It certainly has changed.
Yep. Absolutely.
Mostly for the better.
Yeah, I think so.
So, not going political, but just want to put it out there that the building committee, since this is the segue, the building committee is having a meeting tomorrow at 4. That was posted, but it's not on the website. It didn't get on the website. It was requested, but right now they don't have anybody that's able to post. Mm-hmm. So they weren't able to get it on the website.
But it was posted legally at the annex, and okay.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And a copy was given to the town clerk. So it's posted 4:00 at the public safety building. The building committee will be meeting.
And it is legal.
Yeah. And it is legal.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
So
that would be an interesting meeting.
Yeah. If anybody, I mean, I would suggest anybody that can make it, show the support.
Right.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, that committee has been together for a number of years, and it's always requesting, just like the volunteer for on call for the fire, and new blood come in and kind of stimulate the discussion for town. Yeah. It's nice to get new residents and kind of excited about participating in this, because
we're always open to new members on that committee.
Absolutely. And if you just want to go and not participate, but pat these guys on the back for a project that came in under budget, on time during a pandemic. Close.
That's I'll pass on the pat us on the back, but just
but I'll say
it is kind of interesting because the meeting is in that building.
Yeah.
And even if you just want to come down,
see it
and see the building, and smile.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of people will be impressed.
It's not mine. Mm-hmm. Just because I get this on my chest, it doesn't make it mine. It's yours.
Right.
It's the town's.
Yep.
And that's what we did it for. So,
nice.
And the safety of the people that work for the town. Because there are organizations that don't seem to care too much about making the town a better place, which is what it's all about.
Right.
Yep.
So I did get a question about what is on the agenda. And I'm not exactly sure, to tell you the truth. I didn't see it.
On the building committee agenda?
Right. But I believe it's going to be talking about...
And I'm not real sure either.
The next steps.
I've been dealing with too many meetings of different groups that I'm involved in, so I'm not sure. And I'm not even sure that I'm going to make that meeting, because I certainly want to be there, because I have some things that I want to say. But I'm also on the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, which that meeting came in first. So
yeah.
But I'm hoping I can sneak out of that one, because that one starts a little earlier. So.
Well, I know that there are a few projects that were just getting done. A couple of, I think, final things that needed to get done. And then I know they're going to probably address the minutes thing and some of the concerns that have been kind of brought up in the past. So.
I don't want to overstep my bounds, so I'm not going to make a lot of comments on that.
Right.
But there are we have made some betterments due to things that we were mistaken on, mostly in regards to the minutes and postings. And some we were correct on, some we were not correct on, but we want to make sure that it's all on the up and up, because that's the biggest thing we've fought for, is to keep it all above board, nothing behind anybody's backs. We don't want to get into the whole political he said, she said, because that doesn't get us anywhere.
But I'm just going to say one thing about the, according to the, I think it's the open meeting rules, you don't have to post on a website.
That's correct.
Minutes have to be somewhere and it could be anywhere.
It
Right.
could be
If you make them available upon request.
correct.
It should probably go faster than it's going, but they are available and they are being made. So the building committee didn't do anything wrong.
And my understanding is we actually have someone else who is going to be doing the secretarial part for us,
Okay.
which will make life a little easier.
Yeah.
Because it's a person that is used to doing that on a
Right.
daily basis. I don't want to mention names, but because I would get it wrong anyhow.
Right.
But we are working on making sure that that's no longer an issue.
Good. Excellent.
Yeah. So, again, the building committee meeting, just to answer the questions, 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon at the public safety agenda.
To be determined.
To be determined. It's set. We just don't know it.
Yeah.
So, enough about the
Yeah.
Brimfield stuff.
That's good.
And I would like to segue again, if it's okay with you, Mr. Wales, to talk about what you do when you're not on the cemetery commission, on the Chamber of Commerce, on the fire department.
Well, I actually try to run a profitable business. I think that's one of those things we're supposed to do as business owners.
Yeah.
We're all three business owners.
It's supposed to
Which
be
that
that way.
segues into something interesting. I happened to research, and this is off the question 100%, previous selectmen.
Mm-hmm.
And as far back as the 70s, when my dad was a selectman, about 90% of all former selectmen
Mm-hmm.
have been small business owners.
Wow.
And I found that very
That is.
interesting and a little bit telling.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
it is.
I thought that was very interesting. And I mean, my dad owned a sawmill.
Yeah.
Lee Adams was an attorney,
Sure.
had his own office.
Yeah.
I think his dad
Tom.
was a selectman too.
Yeah, Tom Marino's
But
a,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
that was an
Steve
Tom
Fisher,
Marino's
yeah.
an attorney.
Yeah.
It
Steve.
was pretty
Yeah,
interesting
it
to
is.
find that out.
It is interesting.
Kind of tells a little something. But I run a slightly
So,
profitable.
wait a
painting-
second.
Go ahead.
Uh-oh.
That means that you are perfectly qualified to be a selectman. I think I heard that.
Perfectly so.
Yeah.
I have had some people in town request me to be on the Board of Selectmen, and I will be dead honest with everyone. There is someone else you need to ask before that, and it happens to be the lovely young lady that I live with. You would have to get her permission first, because I know that I don't think you'll get it.
No.
Because I'm involved in too many things now, and I've actually dropped a couple of things, it's just because it gets a little busy, and I'm actually getting near retirement age.
Well,
So,
the thing that scared me away was when I asked you the first time about that. You said that you could, but you'd have to come live with me.
well, that was
Yeah.
the
So
deal.
before you
That
ask
would-
him to be
Yeah,
selectman,
my wife did explain to me that I would probably, and I'm sorry, Mary Ann, but this is kind of a cute story. Is my wife explained to me that if I ran for selectman, I would probably have to find a new place to live, and that I might have to find someone new to live with.
So she said might. So there's
Well,
a chance.
I don't think there's much of a chance. And I mentioned I had someone from town, fairly well-known person, I won't mention names, and he asked me to run for selectman, and I explained to him exactly what I just explained to you all, and he said, oh, and he turned on his heels and walked away. And about 3 weeks later, when more stuff was happening in our lovely Pink Palace, I happened to run into that same person in the post office, and he mentioned his wife's name, and he said that she said I could move in any time. And it was pretty humorous, because he and I have been friends for a very long time.
That's funny.
I won't mention any names.
That's great.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right.
We're trying
So-
to get to this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so when Mike and Paul invited me here, they said one of the things they'd like to start doing is to invite some of the local business people to, even if it's a few minutes, to spend some time
Right.
explaining what they do. There's actually a Facebook site of Brimfield businesses. Unfortunately, I'm not part of it because I'm just not a computer savvy guy. But it's some of the local businesses and trying to get Brimfield people to spend their money locally, which is huge, and I'm not the only painter in town, and I'm not saying you should choose one over the other, but try to spend your money locally and I do. But we do run a painting business. Right now we have 6 of us working. We do interior and exterior painting. We do a lot of other home repair kind of things, like take wallpaper down, put wallpaper up, take popcorn down. We do lots of exterior repairs when we're painting exteriors of houses. We've painted a lot of houses and a lot of different businesses, couple of churches in the middle. My daughter Elise, who lives in town, is just getting ready to build her house in town. She pretty much runs more than half of the business at this point. My son worked with us for many, many years as well. We're kind of a small family. We take care of each other. Even though the guys that work for us aren't family, we treat them all like family because that's the way it should be. Old school.
Yep.
I'm an old timer, and I still think old school is the best way to go. But that's what we do for a business. And you see our trucks all the time, I'm sure, especially mine, because half the time I'm running back to the shop to get something that I just forgot.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty good at that. And a few of our customers can vouch for that as well. Oh, he forgot us again. But I don't usually forget the customers. But that's what we do for a living.
Great.
Plain
Nice.
and simple.
So
Plain and simple.
can I let everybody in on a secret of yours?
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Get the
go
mic.
for it.
Let me get
Go
the mic.
for it.
So I did have you paint our house,
You did.
and it was well. I'll plug it and say it was a great job, very neat, very all that. But at one point, I asked your opinion on colors.
Yeah, you can go. You can continue this because I'm getting closer to retirement.
Okay. You told me that looking at colors, I should probably talk to Elise because she's very good with colors, and you're colorblind.
Yes, I am. And
Colorblind painter.
There you go.
I'm not the only colorblind painter that I know. I actually know one other fellow, 2 other fellows, and they're both in town or close to town. One was the chief before me, and he's just retired, so I guess I can let that cat out of the bag. But we, my problem with colors, as most men, and I guess it's something like 6 out of 10 men are colorblind.
Oh.
And it's only like 1 out of 10 women that are colorblind for whatever reason. My problem is, and I swear that I almost missed that day in school with the color wheels and what goes into. So I'll look at a wall and say, geez, that's a really nice green wall. And somebody will say, it's kind of not green. But if you tell me what color to put up,
There you go.
I'm very good at that.
Whatever's in the
And-
can.
and
If you
if-
like it,
and
then I like it.
And if I
Right.
open the second can and they go, that's not the same as the first, I can tell that it's not the same as the first. But the good thing is I'm getting closer to retirement, so we can let that story out of the bag. Thank you very
Hey,
much.
Hey, you also have glasses that you can then see color.
Yeah, I do. I found out, because those of you that are colorblind out there, you may have the same feeling as me. For many years, I've wished I had these two guys' eyes that aren't colorblind in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
What
I do have pretty
give to be able to see the colors in the fall that other people see.
Right.
And I mentioned it to my eye doctor, and he said, "Oh, I have these things," and he said, "I'll give them to you."
Right.
And it's kind of interesting. They're discs about like the size of a hockey puck, but they're clear and they're thin. They don't weigh anything, but they're red. And I've jokingly tucked them behind my glasses, so it looks like I got these. But it changes the color for me.
Oh, right.
So I can see, supposedly, and I have no way to prove it one way or the other,
Right.
I can see the same colors that you see in the fall trees.
Oh, very cool.
Which is, it's very interesting because my wife will be out for a fall ride and my wife will say, "What do you think of those nice gold trees?" And I will, "Oh, the yellow ones or the orange ones."
Mm-hmm.
It just is what it is.
Yeah.
So, believe
That is
me,
neat.
if we're painting your house, my daughter is the one to talk to. Elise has that talent. I also have to say I've never had the talent that my daughter has for putting blue with green or green with yellow or whatever it is that you want to do. She could go into a house and go, "Oh, you need to have this color." Right. Although we just painted a set of stairs for someone in Munson. And the homeowner was so tickled because I actually did pick the color for the stair treads because they were all white and the risers were white. Everything was white on the stair system. And I picked this color because of the color that was in the rug. And they were away on vacation. They were at Disneyland. And they came home and he called me a couple of days later to have me come over and pick up payment. And I walked in and he must have spent 20 minutes explaining how if you look at it from this side, it's gray. But you walk over here and it's green. And I asked him if he was colorblind. And he said, "No, I'm not." And I believe him. But it does. It changes with the angles.
From the floor.
And he has two different green walls, two different shades, which we painted many years ago. And then this rug that's gray. And it works so well. It's just like...
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, that's right. Of course.
Maybe a little something still left in the old timer.
That's great. Very good. Well, we do appreciate you coming today. It was really fun. Actually, that was really fun.
Yeah.
I like that. The stories are great. It's good to hear some of the history, and I think you could definitely take this maybe over a cool beverage in all sorts of different directions.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be kind of fun to talk about a little bit more. So.
There's more stories stuck in there, but they're stuck.
Yeah, we'll have to loosen them up a little bit. Maybe we should do that. We should have a cocktail hour podcast and
Not sure.
loosen that up a little bit.
Can you do cocktail hour on
Sure, I can.
Live TV?
Yeah, podcast you can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As long as you know what the rules
Oh, yeah,
are.
we know the rules.
If we do get on the Brimfield community page, that might be frowned on.
Oh, yeah.
Or community.
Well, we'll just have
TV.
to have two
There's
channels.
been issues in the past with stuff like that.
Yeah, well,
I won't go into
Yeah, no, you don't have to. That's probably fine. But no, we do appreciate your time coming by and
You're
the
very
stories,
welcome.
the entertainment.
It was fun.
It really was.
Yeah.
So I think what time we got here? So we're probably about
we're
time.
about an hour. Yeah.
All right. So what I'd like to do is just kind of put up a couple of.
This is getting to be holiday season, and I don't know if you were able to get a bunch of the craft fairs and that type of thing.
I didn't get a lot of those. I got the Christmas tree lighting, of course. I'll put that over there. So the Christmas tree lighting is on December 4th, and we'll keep putting that up until that time. I've got the vaccination.
That's a good one. That's a very good one.
Let me put that over there. So
is that December 5th?
December 15th?
15th.
Yeah. And so it's from 10 in the morning to 1 p.m. There's some information on the screen right now, and I believe I may have, let's see, I think I have a little bit more at the bottom there. So there's a link as well And the link is long. It's actually just Eva sent me this link, and it is kind of a long one, unfortunately.
Yes, it is.
But if you want to get in touch with Eva as the COA director at Broomfield, she can give you some more information. We'll put this up again and again, but the link is up there as well. So that's the vaccination.
So that, did you read the highlighted $75 gift card when you get vaccinated for everybody?
Really?
And that is per person. So if you bring your family down, you got Christmas gifts.
Nice.
Yeah,
that is good. Another thing that Eva had forwarded to us is a murder mystery that is. It looks like it's. Let's see what the date is here, because I got to read the fundamentals. Here we go. So there it is, Friday, December 9th, special dinner theater. The murder and clues unfold as you're having your dinner.
Yeah.
It is, there's a little bit of a menu on there. Opens at 4 o'clock on, what was the date? Let me see, I go back to the date here.
December 9th.
December 9th, yeah. Oh yeah, there it goes. And so...
Where is it?
Here we go. There we go. So December 9th, Friday, December 9th, 4 p.m. I don't see where it says where it is. Did I miss it?
I believe it's at the Senior Center.
Really?
I think so.
That's pretty cool.
Maybe... All right, we'll get some clarification, because we've got a little bit of time between now and then to kind of organize that.
Right.
I see we may be spinning. Is that? I think we're actually doing okay, but
yeah, I'm trying to diagnose that now.
Okay.
We've got a computer here that we watch ourselves on live.
Yeah, so hopefully
it's not working.
Yeah, hopefully it is still streaming. But our next episode, I think, is. Let me go back over here. Now you got me nervous that thing's not working. But next episode is episode 14.
It is still working.
Oh, it is still working. Okay, good. So it's just that glitch. All right, excellent. November 23rd, that will be episode 14, and that will be after the meeting. So that'll be the Wednesday after the next select meeting, right? That seems right.
I believe that the Catholic, I don't know if they call it a bazaar, is this weekend?
The craft fair, yeah.
The craft fair is this weekend.
Okay. Saturday,
at the
Sunday.
Catholic Church.
All right. I did not see that. So St. Christopher's this weekend.
Yep.
Excellent.
Right. And
you have so much information you bring.
I'm trying.
So much.
And then next weekend, there is another community event at the at Pioneer Cannabis. She's got a local business. There are 7 signed up now. Mm-hmm. That and so that's, I think, December 5th. Not this weekend, but next.
Okay.
And I think it's a Saturday. So that's another event taking place with local businesses.
Yeah, excellent. So what we'll do is we'll get more information on that, and we'll put it on. We'll plug it on the next episode 14 next week. We'll try to get a couple of these things that are, well, obviously the craft fair. If there are any others than the church afterwards, we'll try to plug them right before the holidays. So, all right, and I think that's it. Unless we had anything else. Did you have anything else?
Oh, Boy Scouts fill the tent.
Oh,
that's also Saturday.
Oh, right.
This Saturday.
Okay. Yep. And I wasn't online today, and I didn't. Sometimes I'll take these clips out from Facebook and other places like that, and I wasn't online today. So all right, they fill the tent, and that is any canned goods this weekend at the Common. Are they doing it at the Common or at the church?
I believe it is on the Common.
I believe so.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If not, it's at the church.
Our kids used to do that, and they would stay overnight on the Common, and they would have, they would cook out and all that, and be in the tents, and it was always cold. It was, but you see, these kids, they had a ball. They absolutely loved tenting on the Common that weekend. So I don't know if they're doing that, but hopefully they are. If they're not, at least they're going to be collecting canned goods.
Somebody asked if we were going to be on Tuesday instead of Wednesday next week.
Because of the holiday?
Oh, yeah.
Because of the I always get all worked up on Tuesday after a meeting. I need that decompression day. But we could.
It's your wife who's asking, so I don't know if that might be a loaded question.
It might be a loaded question.
She might have plans for you.
You know how that is. I guess maybe what we can do is we can take a little survey online and see, but I don't see any reason not to have it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
Tuesday is going in hot.
I'm not so sure that you should say that.
So
Paul may need a place to
who's
stay.
running for selectman?
Good thing you brought that up, Mrs. McCarthy.
Yeah, all right. We'll check. We can do it Tuesday. I mean, I can decompress by Tuesday night. I can usually do that.
Oh, what a chicken!
I can do it well.
No, I don't think he's chicken.
Oh my God!
He might be getting to be a smarter man.
See, there you go. With age comes.
How many years you been married?
Don't do that. Enough.
Okay, this is going downhill quick.
This is going downhill fast. All right, we'll check right now. It's I'm going to leave it up like that right now, and then we'll decide. We'll talk off air and figure out what we're going to do. All right.
Yeah,
well then.
She's saying she doesn't have a reason.
She doesn't have. You know what that means? There's a reason when I forgot it. She's just going to tell me later. I get it. Yeah. No, it doesn't matter. Okay, sure. No, I'm sure there isn't. I think we can probably do Wednesday.
You're probably supposed to pre-carve the turkey because
There
you
you
are
go.
the surgeon.
There you go. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. No, I'll do that on Thursday. Well, I don't know. I guess I'll do that on Thursday. We always deep fry our turkeys. And then when I make it, it's delicious.
Nice.
Yeah, I like doing that. All right, so now I think are we ready?
So Wednesday.
I think we'll do Wednesday, November 23rd.
Unless Paul's not allowed out.
Episode 14. I may be zooming in. Mike can take care of it himself. So, all right, well, very good. Again,
Have a good night.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
everybody. We really appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you.